Hello, Grand Strand. Welcome back. This is Richard Florzak, the private chef to the stars. This is Talking About Food. Remember, it's the only food commentary show on the Grand Strand. We talk about restaurants, food trucks, festivals, farmers, markets. We interview local chefs, local restaurant owners, and from time to time, I interview some of my celebrity friends, but whether celebrity or not, the topic will always be food because nothing brings people together like great food, and it happened again. Good food, good talk brought together my two guests in the studio today. They're pretty much household names here in the Grand Strand. Lakieta Bagwell-Graves and Jamie Graves. Lakieta is a gifted singer, Greg Rowles Legacy Theatre, always Celine, and Jamie has a background that's never... You know what I'm going to do, if you guys don't mind, if you could explain your backgrounds, because whenever I try to do it, I sound like I'm reading from Wikipedia. So why don't you start, Lakieta?
All right. Well, I grew up singing. My dad was a minister in Tennessee. I'm from Tennessee and the Smoky Mountain area where Dolly's from, Sevierville, Pigeon Forge.
Say that, yeah.
Yeah. And I grew up about 40 miles from there. So always went to Dollywood, or actually it was Silver Dollar City back in the day.
Yeah.
And but I grew up singing. My mom was the church pianist. So, you know, I kind of came by it honest and just sang my entire life. I started singing literally when I was 3.
Yeah.
I could sing parts and things like that. And then, so that brings us to now I've done a ton of things. I sang with Lee Greenwood, sang with Dolly.
Wow.
Was on the Grand Ole Opry with Lee Greenwood at one point. And very excited. Her family, Dolly's family, have been really good friends of mine for many years. And Dolly's sister, Rachel, and Randy, her brother, and another friend of ours, Jimmy Bryant, we had a group together. And Dolly actually named us Honey Creek.
Tell the listeners, what is it exactly you do here in Myrtle Beach? I know, but they should know.
Yes. So I sing for the Barefoot Queen. That is a riverboat that goes down the Intracoastal Waterway. I sing on it Monday, Tuesdays, and Wednesdays.
Oh.
And I tell a little bit of history about what's going on, how the Intercoastal was started, that kind of thing.
Oh,
I do that 3 days a week. I'm a sub for Greg Rowles Theatre, so when somebody needs a day off or they get sick or that kind of thing, I go in and do that. And then I have a show that my husband and I have put together called Always Celine.
Yeah.
First show coming October 12th.
Wow, that's going to be big.
It's huge. I think I've lost my mind. I mean, who tries to sing Celine Dion? Yeah. I mean, I do.
Yeah, good for you.
You know, and so that's what I do.
Before we go to Jamie, tell the listeners again, when does that start?
My first show is going to be October 12th.
October 12th.
7 o'clock at the Greg Rowles Theatre.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right. Everybody's got to rush there.
Yeah.
So tell us, Jamie, how did you get from Tennessee here? I hear you are quite the fantastic musician.
Well, I don't know about that, but I've been in it my entire life. I was born and raised in the Nashville, Tennessee area, and I started playing gospel music when I was 13.
Oh, like Elvis.
Yeah. Thank you. But by the time I had graduated high school, I was playing full-time, traveling, playing gospel music. Did that for a few years. Got offered a job at Dollywood, moved to East Tennessee in 92. That's actually where I met Lakieta. She was singing in a show there. Stayed there for a few years. Started doing some arrangements for live production shows. Was involved in some theaters there in East Tennessee and Pigeon Forge. Then I got a job offer to move to Myrtle Beach to play piano for the Carolina Opry.
Oh, wow.
Through word of mouth.
Yeah.
We talk about, small circles. So a producer that Lakieta had worked for doing live shows, I met, never worked for him, but met through her. he's the one that recommended me to Calvin Gilmore, who owns the Carolina Opry.
Oh, wow.
So, long story short, I got the job, moved here. We picked up and just sold everything in Tennessee and bought everything here.
Yeah, well, it sounds divinely inspired to me. But almost as important as their contributions to the entertainment industry, they're foodies. That's what I hear. They love their food.
I do.
You both have lived here for how long?
3 years.
3 years.
Mm-hmm.
So you have kids, you have a busy career. You just told me before the show started that you have grandchildren, which by looking at both of you, I thought you were lying.
Thank you.
With all of that going on, do you get to dine out often?
She's the one that always, let's go try this place. Let's go try this place.
And Jamie, are you open to that?
Yeah, I'm not a big saucy guy.
He doesn't like mayonnaise. He doesn't like sour cream. He doesn't like ranch dressing. So he can't.
What's wrong with me? I know.
Let me explain something to you. I've often said this, and she'll kill me when she hears this episode. My wife is fussier than any celebrity I ever worked for.
Really?
And guess what? Sauce on the side.
Yeah.
Sauces, salad dressings and sauces are always on the side for me, unless I've partaken of it before.
And she doesn't eat mayo.
I like your wife already.
Sour cream in certain situations. Wow. So Lakieta, you're the more adventurous one, but Jamie will follow along. You don't turn your nose up to.
I probably wouldn't eat octopus, but everything else I'll try.
Now I have to say, as far as seafood, he likes seafood a little more than I do. I'm very particular about fish. There is something, I'll tell you what happened. Years of being in shows and having to not eat, and find things that you could eat that were low calorie or whatever, high protein.
Yep.
So I used to literally eat tuna fish out of a can.
Yeah.
With crackers, just dry crackers, saltines or whatever, thinking that was, going to help. And to this day, one of the things when I went to LA, there was a restaurant. Mike made sure that where we stayed at had a restaurant, because he would say, eat your breakfast or eat your lunch, depending on what time of day we were going to be recording. He would say, go eat. Well, we had this little restaurant, and they made a tuna melt with fresh avocado. And I ate so many of those sandwiches. It was one of the best things. I just couldn't. We would eat sometimes 2 a day, just depending on what our schedule was. But to this day, I cannot eat tuna fish.
I'm the type of person that finds one thing, it sounds similar to that I love, and I will eat it to death.
Yeah.
And my wife will point it out. She'll say, you had that 3 nights in a row. You realize by the end of the weekend, you're not going to ever want it again. So,
it's like,
if it's blackened, seafood, if it's blackened, I'll eat. I love scallops, blackened scallops. I love blackened flounder. If it's
any kind of fish, he's real good about that.
Yeah. I know somebody that said once that his wife, every time she cooks, she burns something and she tells him it's blackened.
Okay, I'm going to use that. Yeah. I need to use that for sure.
Are there certain style? What is your heritage, Lakieta?
I'm Cherokee Indian.
Uh-huh.
But I grew up in a very Southern cooking home, a Tennessee Southern.
Yeah.
Because, you have Southern New Orleans, who's, is like crawfish and soups and boils, and South Carolina is a little bit like that. I grew up biscuits, gravy, eggs, bacon, sausage, casserole to death. I grew up with lots of butter and buttermilk and whole milk and those kinds of things.
Can't go wrong there.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's really funny because, you go through most of my life, you had to do non-fat. Everything was, this has no fat, so eat it. It's not going to, and that was, turned out that's what was making you fat. But now it's amazing how everything's going back to whole foods and eggs.
Yeah, which is why I'm always suspect of any kind of trend fad that happens.
Yes.
As a private chef, of course, you know, you're working for actors in Hollywood. Your main thing is to keep weight off of them.
Right.
And I have watched every fad come and go. I don't know if you all remember the non-fat fad.
Mm-hmm.
There were literal aisles in the supermarket that were labeled no fat.
Yeah, count your fat grams. Count your fat grams.
Yeah. And what most people didn't know, and you know they're not supposed to know, but I am supposed to know, is that if, especially in baking, if you remove something, you got to put something back in. And that was usually sugar. I'm even only because of experience, I'm a little suspect of this new no seed oils. I'm wondering when that's going to turn around, or if. And look, if it's correct, I mean that's better for us. Yeah. Are there certain styles of food that you guys like?
I love Italian food.
Yeah. He loves Italian. I love Mexican food.
Yeah, that's so cool.
I love any kind of ethnic.
Yeah,
I love Indian food. He tried. We love going to Disney. And I would follow on, I would find different people on Instagram that would go and say, hey, these are good restaurants.
Yeah,
we tried
would
this.
Review all the,
they would basically influencers.
Yeah, went to every Disney restaurant, reviewed every single restaurant.
There was one particular girl that I loved her style. And we tried a place called, what was it called? Sanaa? I can't remember.
Yeah.
And it was at African. Animal Kingdom Lodge. And we went, he was like, I don't know. I just don't know about this. Turned out it was his favorite restaurant.
Was it Indian?
It was Indian, kind of an Indian, ethnic, African, kind of a fusion kind of thing. Yeah. Tons of sauces. And, you know, he would say, oh, I don't like that one. And
one of my favorite places I've ever eaten there.
It was like non-bread, and you had all these sauces that you could try, and some are really hot, and they're like, this one's really hot, this one's nice.
And I do like hot, spicy food.
Oh, great. Spicy.
Yeah.
The spicier, the better.
No kidding.
Now, let me tell you this. You talk about eating the same thing all the time. Your wife saying that that's what you do. He eats a quesadilla that he fixes with different kinds of meats and things, because I'll bring stuff home from the boat, or I work for Hilton Grand Vacations. I do their corporate gigs, and we do Rios every week. So I'll bring home some meat. So it's different meats, but he will sit and his scalp will sweat because he's put so many jalapenos so he's definitely the spicy guy.
Have you tried any Indian here in the Grand Strand?
I have not.
There is one that I discovered up in Myrtle Beach. It's called I believe it's called India Cafe. I don't have the address in front of me, but check that out. I think they're pretty good. But you mentioned you like Mexican as well. Any Mexican restaurants in particular that you've been to that you like?
My favorite is Fiesta Mexicana.
And where is that? Is that Myrtle Beach?
It's in Myrtle Beach. I think it's around 71st. I used to sing there. When that was one of the first things that I did, one of the first restaurants.
And the people there, the owners are so
The
sweet,
owners are
nice people.
fantastic.
So if you're headed Fiesta Mexicana in Myrtle Beach, what's your go-to dish there for you?
My favorite is Pollo Loco. It has, it's got rice underneath it, and then it's a chicken breast. They actually make them really thin. They pound them out really thin and put two together, and it has onions and peppers and mushrooms. It has broccoli. I get extra. My sister, she was like, I can't try this. Broccoli and Mexican don't go together, but it's the way they grill it.
Yeah.
And it's got zucchini and like a squash, a yellow squash. It's so good. And then they cover it in cheese. Oh, that queso. Listen, I'm telling you, it's one of my favorites. But I've had the carnitas there. The carnitas, the pork it was some of the most tender.
Yeah.
Yeah, I miss singing there because I would get a food allowance.
Oh, nice.
I had to stop doing eating for sure.
Jamie, what's your favorite dish there?
I usually get the fajitas. I usually get the chicken fajitas.
Yeah.
You know why? Because everything's on the side.
Yeah.
That's and that's the truth. And he will get them. He'll say, "Don't add." A lot of times he'll say, "I don't want any sour cream," or "You don't have to." And then I'm like, "No, give it to me."
So the fajitas on the side, that's Fiesta Mexicana, and any other ethnic, just restaurants in general.
Oh, we ate at Jerusalem.
Jerusalem,
I've been there.
Oh,
I had
good.
the Moroccan fish.
Yeah.
Ooh, that was fantastic. And we haven't had a chance to go back because we're new to the area. So I like to try different restaurants. We went to Salt and Lime for our anniversary. It's a new restaurant. It's on the beach. We enjoyed that quite a bit.
We've been to Thai Seasons. We love Thai Seasons.
Thai Seasons.
And we like
that's
Thai
food.
Bistro.
Where are they? They're in
Thai Bistro is probably my favorite.
It's in Myrtle Beach, around 48th, somewhere on.
It's right before 48th. So,
and then Thai Seasons is in North Myrtle Beach.
North Myrtle.
Yeah.
So Thai Bistro, what do you have there, Lakieta?
I'm a yellow curry girl.
You guys are killing it.
Yellow curry, and it's very, very spicy. It's a tad more spicy than I like, but I can't not eat it. And the sauce was so thick and but I also love traditional pad thai.
Yeah.
Thailand was one of my favorite places I ever visited.
Yeah, me too.
And I went to Phuket.
Me too.
And
yeah.
I ate 10 pounds worth in about 8 days.
Yeah.
But there was a little hole in the wall place, and they would literally go pick fruit off the trees behind and make smoothies. Oh my gosh, sorry. I just think it, my mouth is watering just thinking
I'm trying
about.
to focus on this show, and I'm already thinking that when the show's over, I got to talk to my wife about where we're going for dinner. What about you, Jamie?
Pad Thai.
Yeah.
And I get it. It's hot.
He gets Thai hot. Can you believe
I love it? I'm sure they could make it to where I couldn't eat it, but I get it hot. And then
sticky rice with mango.
Sticky mango rice, yes.
Oh, wow. Man.
Wow.
So
now,
good.
Lakieta has eaten on 5 different continents. I've only been to Canada.
Yeah. Tell us about that. 5 different continents. So you were Thailand, and you had the curry there. Loved it. Where else?
We went to Hong Kong.
So have I. This is great.
Oh, wow. We got on a boat, and they took us out of the harbor, out around, and just docked at a little place. And when you walked in, it looked like a fish market, basically. And, they had things that had come in that day. And so we went in, and there was it was these round tables that could probably fit 14 people.
Yeah.
And there was a Lazy Susan in the middle, and they would come, but the Lazy Susan was as big as the table almost. And they would sit down dishes, different kinds of dishes. And of course they're called prawns, not shrimp. Everything was on it still. I just made my mind up that I was going to try authentic stuff while I was in Hong Kong. And so the prawns were probably...
They stood out.
They stood out. Yeah. It was some of the most... And they just caught it that day.
Yeah.
All whole fish kind of things, dishes.
What stood out to me in Hong Kong was drunken shrimp. Do you remember that? There's... I don't know how I'm going to be able to explain it on here, but it's like a bowl on a stem, metal bowl on a stem, and on there's a lid for it, but there's an opening in the top, and there's a flame underneath.
Oh, okay.
And they put Chinese rice wine in the bowl, and then they put live shrimp in there. And they go crazy until they drink the wine, and then they die, and then they light it on the bottom, and it cooks the shrimp. So the shrimp have that Chinese rice wine inside. What other continents?
I went to South America, went to Iguazu Falls.
You must have liked that. food-wise.
Yes. That was the first time I found out about churrascos. And you could walk in any restaurant that was like this, and there's just these huge skewers of meat.
Yeah.
Just everything from chicken, beef, and they the spices that they used on them. Yeah. I mean, it was just unlike, and it's an open flame, and they're turning, so they're getting that rotisserie, beautiful, crisp, crunchy outside, You're
killing me. This is unbelievable.
One of it was...
You should do food commercials.
Listen, he always says, I know when you are enjoy. He said, I've never seen anybody enjoy food like you do. Yeah. Because if I take a bite of something and it's good, I can't be quiet.
Get out of my way.
He says, honey, calm down. People are looking. And I'm like, I'm sorry. I might have a Meg Ryan moment
I'll
here.
have what she's having.
Yeah.
Yes. Because I do. I enjoy great food.
Yeah. Where else?
I had my first Fogo de Chao experience in Sao Paulo, by the way.
Explain to the listeners what that is.
Fogo de Chao is it's a restaurant. The original was Sao Paulo, I do believe, and the one that I know here is called Rio's. It's a Brazilian steakhouse. That style.
They make great quesadillas.
Believe it or not,
and I'll bet spicy too, right?
Oh my goodness, they make a homemade pico to go on top.
Yeah.
Oh,
yeah.
It's
Africa.
Went to Africa. Spent about 4 weeks in Africa, and I had everything from springbuck. There's tons of springbuck over there. Blessbuck, warthog.
Yeah.
That kind of thing. I did not like the warthog. The warthog was very, very gamey.
Well, believe it or not, you're way more adventurous than I am. I'm embarrassed to say, I've got this policy: if I have to brine it, marinate it, or smoke it in order to make it edible, I don't want it.
Yeah.
What about Jamie was in Canada? What was any favorite dish from Canada?
I don't know. We went to the mall we went to that big mall, and I had Saberos. I don't know. I don't remember Canada.
Hey, all this talk about food, you haven't mentioned anything sweet. Are you guys sweet eaters?
Yes.
Yeah.
I have to. One of my favorite desserts is, and I get it just about everywhere I go, is a creme brulee. Yeah. If it's a vanilla bean, creme brulee with a little bit of fruit,
and she makes the best strawberry cake. It's my favorite. Strawberry cake's my favorite.
Oh, I love that.
She's a baker.
I'm from scratch.
Yeah.
My mom was a little of this and a little of that and taste. And so I'm that kind of cook. So I will come up. Jamie will ask me, what are we having for dinner? I have no clue. It started out as...
So you're the cook. You're the cook in the house.
Well,
when we do cook, if it's a meal, she cooks. Yeah. I cook lunches, sandwiches, breakfast.
He's great at breakfast. Yeah. He's mean turkey, eggs, and cheese with Tabasco sauce.
Of course.
And jalapenos.
As
far as the sweets go,
well, that was
she. She changed the way I eat pancakes.
In what way?
I just thought pancakes were pancakes till she makes homemade pancakes, and I can't eat
any others.
No, or it has to be maple syrup too now, because
100% maple syrup.
I used to think, you'd get the Aunt Jemima or the Mrs. Butterworth or the Log Cabin. I can't find any place in the Grand Strand that has maple syrup except for Cracker Barrel. Nope, everybody uses that.
It's corn syrup.
Corn syrup,
maple.
Wow.
So,
well, we'll have to be on the hunt for that. So your favorite dessert, Jamie, is
strawberry homemade
cake,
strawberry cake,
and yours, Lakieta, is a good old-fashioned creme brulee.
Yes.
No monkeying around with it.
No
just
monkeying around.
Bean. I love that. I ask this question to every chef that comes on, but I would love to ask this to both of you as well. What is the one food indulgence that you would be embarrassed to tell someone about? Now, I have a disclaimer to just always tell my own so you don't think I'm throwing you under the bus here. I love, I'll tell you right out of the gate, I love foie gras, and I love fresh truffles from white truffles from Alba, but my indulgence is hamburger helper lasagna. I love it.
It came to my mind the second you said it, and I was like, I'm not going to be embarrassed to say it.
Good.
Fried bologna.
Oh, yeah.
A fried bologna
Velveeta,
sandwich.
shells and cheese.
You're not, Jamie,
Yes.
you're not going to believe this. You are not going to believe this. When I first started this question for chefs that had come on, I would say the first 5 or 6 chefs, my disclaimer was Velveeta mac and cheese with julienne pepperoni. And the only reason why I changed it to hamburger helper lasagna is because I'm sure that the listeners were getting tired. Oh, yeah, here he comes. But that's what it was. That is unbelievable.
Listen, there's nothing better than getting leftover brisket and putting it in Velveeta shells and cheese.
Oh,
leftover brisket.
I used to put, this is terrible. I would take it has to be shells and cheese. The texture's different.
Yeah. Yeah.
You're right.
But I would dump a can of tuna fish and mix it in and eat that.
Okay, I literally
into the
gagged.
Velveeta
Yes,
mac.
that was my
way.
Yeah. Now
Wow.
That makes me gag.
yeah.
I literally gagged.
I think
I could
That's
eat that
okay.
still.
I think my wife is really going to love that.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It was fried bologna sandwiches with cheese, Duke's mayonnaise, and a fresh tomato.
Yeah.
Oh, help
Can't
me.
beat it. Can't beat it.
Love
Wow.
it. Love it.
See,
Yeah.
I've said this before. For the people that don't have these indulgences or they look down their nose at it, they're missing out.
They're missing out or they're lying. I think they're lying.
I've said that
I think,
before.
Yeah, I think they.
And I've worked with certain chefs. I told this story I think once before, years ago, when I used to work for a number of different caterers in Los Angeles. I used to work often. You know, you show up at the gig and there's people you're familiar with, other chefs and stuff. And this one chef and I, we became real good friends, and we're prepping this one day. And somehow we got on the topic of what we used to eat when we were growing up, right?
Uh-huh.
And the executive chef is, moving around the kitchen, and he overhears us saying grilled cheese and tomato sandwich. I mean, grilled cheese and Campbell's tomato soup.
Yes.
And
Yes.
one of us said, yeah, but the grilled cheese has to have Velveeta, made with Velveeta. And the executive chef turns around and he says, man, how did he say it? He goes, you must have had a really horrible life growing up.
Oh.
And we both looked at each other,
No
my friend and
way.
I, and we were like, what's his problem, first
Yeah.
of all? And my friend says, no, he's the one that's childhood sucked.
Yes.
Not
100%.
not ours.
Yeah.
Well, you guys are so great to have on. Lakieta Bagwell-Graves and Jamie Graves, thank you so much for coming in. Don't miss these people, folks. So, guys, why don't you explain to the listeners where they can find you performing in the very near future?
So I am on the Barefoot Queen Monday through Wednesday. So you can find me there. Then I will be doing Always Celine at the Greg Rowles Legacy Theatre in North Myrtle Beach.
Always Celine is a tribute to the music of Celine Dion.
Yes.
And if you're a Celine Dion fan, you're going to love this show.
Yeah, don't miss that.
And if you're not a Celine Dion fan, come and check it out because you might be after, hopefully. But you can find tickets on Lakieta and Company. That's Lakieta, the word and also company.com. And there's video on there. There's a video from Dolly that's an endorsement. And we have our EPK, all kinds of things on there. So, but you can get a link to buy tickets for there.
Easy to find. That's Lakieta and Jamie Graves, and they have been absolute angels on this show today. Anyway, guys, thanks so much for coming in. What an absolute joy.
Thank you.
And coming up after the break in studio, we have a young gentleman. His name is Michael Roemhildt. He is the owner of Michael's Kitchen and personal chef in catering, and yet another graduate from our fantastic local culinary academy. And he'll be coming up right after the break. Stick around. Hey folks, welcome back to Talking About Food. It's Richard Florzak, private chef to the stars. And as promised, got a great guest in here. I love talking to the younger generation that are involved in this business. His name's Michael Roemhildt. He is the owner of Michael's Kitchen, personal chef and catering. Michael, welcome to Talking About Food.
Thanks for having me.
No, it's my pleasure. I just love talking to you folks. So you live here. You went to HGTC, right?
Yes, sir.
The International Culinary Academy.
Yes, sir.
You graduated from there.
Yes, sir.
Why the food business to begin with?
Well, I was always in the kitchen with my mom.
Yeah.
As you know, I have a big family.
No, I don't know. Tell the listeners.
Oh, sorry. So my parents adopted 8 children from Ethiopia, 3 from China, and 2 of their own. So there's 13 of us total.
That's it. You got to stop for a second. That is absolutely amazing.
Yes.
Your parents, I haven't met them, but I'm sure they're angelic. So that's a big family. So go ahead.
Yes. So I wasn't always interested in food, but my mom's always in the kitchen. Thought, just one time just decided, you know what, I'm going to go in and help out and see what I can do. And
How old were you then?
I think it was 15.
Yeah, okay, go ahead.
Yep. And then, I was like, she looked like she might need some help. Let me just go in. And, she just started, showing me things, how to cook this, how to do that. And then as time goes on, I was like, you know what, this is pretty interesting.
And that was it.
That was it. Yeah.
Now, would you say prior to that you were an adventurous eater?
No, I was not.
No,
No.
really?
Yeah.
Fussy?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm a pretty picky eater.
Not now, though.
No.
No, but you were then.
Yeah.
And when did that change?
That was definitely a couple months in after culinary school.
After
culinary school.
No kidding.
No.
But the fact that you were helping your mother that often, you found this joy in that.
Correct.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I'll never forget the first time I realized that I loved making people happy through food.
Exactly.
I
love it.
It's
Yes.
a cool
Best feeling.
thing. So you chose the catering / personal chef path. And before we go into that, I want to make absolutely clear, you and I were having a terrific conversation before we went on the air. And I've said this before, it's one of the few areas that really bothers me about the food industry today. And that is how this label of the private chef has been bastardized. And I'll explain one more time. Personal chef is somebody that works for a number of families. They'll work for the Joneses on Monday and the Smiths on Thursday. A private chef works exclusively for one family. Now, like I said to Michael off air, it doesn't mean that the personal chef is any less talented than the private chef, but there is almost like this badge of honor that you get when you are hired by one family exclusively. And you end up, if you're lucky like I was, you travel with them and they treat you like family and you become part of the family. And I've said it before, you'd be hard pressed to find a personal chef that has stocked a Gulfstream 5 for your client's trip to Europe. So anyway, so you chose the catering / personal chef path. Why not a restaurant?
Restaurant business is difficult, as we all know as chefs. It's just tough. You just never know And the only reason I got into the the personal chef and catering side of it is because I know that, no matter what, you're going to have profits, you're going to make money. If you're doing it right with the marketing and everything, you're always going to have business.
Did you work at all in the restaurant business?
Yes, I did.
Yeah. And it obviously did. I'm laughing because I felt the same way when I was coming up the ladder. It didn't sit well with you.
No.
Can you give me like an example? I used to say I couldn't stand all the yelling and the screaming.
Correct. I can't either.
Yeah.
But it's also just how exhausting it is to be in a hot kitchen, especially in the summertime. I just can't do it. But the biggest thing is definitely the yelling and I just couldn't do it.
And a lot of egos flying around.
Yeah.
Right. So you got this idea to do catering and personal chef. How did that come about?
Well, I worked for someone who's also a personal chef and catering around the area. They're called Gringo Ninja. And I thought, because he asked me, to work a couple of jobs for him.
Yeah.
And I thought, this is definitely something that I'm interested in, way better than working in the restaurant industry. So after doing a couple events and gigs for him, I'm like, you know what, this is something that I'm definitely interested in. So,
and he was cool with you doing something similar.
Yeah. Correct. Yeah. I mean, of course, it's competition, but
asked him twice to come on the show. He blew me off twice.
No way.
Yeah, that's all right. They all managed to come around and kiss the ring. So do you have a commercial kitchen that you cook out of?
No, I just go strictly to the client's house and
that's where you do it. What about even for catering?
Yeah.
So if you're catering an event, as opposed, what is then if you're going to their house, what's the difference between it being a catered event or personal chef?
Well, that's a good question. So catered events is usually where they have like a venue that they provide also a kitchen with us. So that's where we'll just go in and do it that. Because most cater events are like at a venue that I do.
Oh, I see. Yeah. And then and at that point, you have to have help,
correct?
Right?
Yeah. So I usually have local chefs that I graduated with from Culinary Institute Academy.
Yeah.
To help.
You kind of hit it off while you were in school.
Yeah.
Yeah. And what about servers?
Servers, we usually don't really have servers because the catered events that we do, it's not more than 100.
But even so, you don't have what about help clean up and
we do all that.
Wow.
Yeah.
One-stop shopping.
Yes, sir.
Holy moly.
Yes.
So on an event, let's say it's a wedding for 100 people, how much staff do you have?
I usually have around 5. But again, this is not really like a wedding that we do. Usually when I get catering requests for weddings, I'll pass it to someone else that actually specializes in weddings.
Why?
Just because I'm not, it's a big job, and if I don't think I'm comfortable with it, I'm not doing it.
It's another one of the great situations that if you decide to go catering or personal chef, you've got the option to turn it down if you want. I can't tell you, there's been a handful of times where I've accepted a job as a private chef and got in there, and within the first 2 days, I realized I made a big mistake. I noticed on your website, you've got a quite extensive amount of different selections. I'm blown away by it. I mean, not only are you can choose your appetizers, menus. It could be buffet. It could be sushi, but and I can't remember because there's so many of them. That's very impressive. How did you come up with that? I mean, there's like 50 things on hors d'oeuvres.
Yes, that's a good question. It actually took me a year to get all this menu all together before I had to publish on the website with my web designer. Yeah, so it's just something that I also do some research on the menus because I know people love all kinds of different things. I want to make sure I have all of it for everyone.
Yeah, and it's like I said, it's very, very impressive. I mean, if people can't find something on your website that they don't like, there's something wrong with them, not you. Have you traveled much?
I'm working on that.
Yeah.
Yes.
Because you just got back this morning from Atlanta. And what were you doing there?
So I usually just go solo travel, just for getaways and just a little bit of fun. But I also try to connect with local chefs in the area that I go visit. So this one I just met is also private chef like yourself, Mr. Chef Richard. So she cooked for a couple of celebrities as well, and we chatted here and there and then. So,
yeah. And was it beneficial to you?
Oh yeah, definitely.
Yeah. If you were offered a strictly private chef job, would you take that?
That's a hard call because
let's say somebody here in the Grand Strand would offer you $100,000 a year, and you're going to work for them 5 days a week, lunch and dinner. Would you do it?
I would.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Why? The price tag?
Yeah, definitely.
Yeah. What if they were real creeps? You wouldn't know you got in. Actually, if that ever happens, you come see me first, and I'll explain to you in your interview with them how you can actually interview them without them knowing it. Yeah, but so it will be the price tag. Yeah. But if it was, let's say it was a family that when you did the math, you figured out that you're going to make the same thing with them working exclusively for them that you make when you're catering and doing personal chef, would you still take that, or would you stick with your business now?
No, I would stick with my business.
Yeah, a lot more freedom.
Yes.
Freedom that way.
Yes.
So your big claim to fame as far as the celebrity topic is concerned, you cooked for Ron Gronkowski.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah, how was that?
That was definitely the best experience ever.
Why?
Because I just never thought I would cook for a celebrity in my entire life. I would just never thought it would ever happen to me.
Yeah. Sometimes it's a nightmare in disguise. Did you have to sign an NDA?
I don't know if it was exactly an NDA, but it was some sort of a paperwork.
Yeah, that says you're not going to be blabbing to everybody.
Correct.
Yeah, when I used to work for Tom Cruise and we were in London for the first Mission Impossible, I would have paparazzi following me back to the house, and I'd get out of the taxi with all of my groceries, and they would just come from all different directions taking pictures of the groceries. So I know what you were up against.
Yes. Although I'm not gonna lie, this one was a little bit different. You know, I did have permission, to post about it to who I exactly cooked for, but of course, people would still give me.
Yeah, you couldn't go to the tabloids.
Correct.
Say he walks around in his underwear or anything like that.
Exactly.
But who did you have to ask permission to be able to post?
I think it was his assistant, if I'm not mistaken, because she's always following them, make sure they have everything they need. So I'm pretty sure it's the assistant.
Was she nice to deal with?
Oh yes, she's
because
great.
they could be very, very difficult.
Yes.
You're obviously good at what you do.
Oh, I try.
What is the worst thing that's ever happened? Like, you spilling something on Gronkowski's $275 Wolf and Shepherd shoes that he advertises on TV. What is the worst thing? I've got stories too, so I'm not trying to trick you and throw you under the bus. What anything that comes to mind?
Specifically for Rob Gronkowski?
No, just in general, in the food industry that you panicked because something went really wrong.
There was one time I was cooking a Peking duck, and I had the oven on broil, and yes, I know.
What happened?
I forgot to put a timer on, and of course, I was trying to multitask.
How many people was this for?
This one was for 15, I believe. Yes, 15. So,
but that's the main course.
Yes, that's the main course. Yes. Yeah. And of course, next thing I know, this kitchen smells a little bit off. It's burnt. And next thing you know, open the oven, shoot, I burned off the skin. Yeah. The skin was completely burnt off.
And what did you do?
I tried to get the skin.
Wait, hold on. Was this considered catering?
No. Yeah, catering.
This was catering.
No, I'm sorry. This was a personal chef. So they went to a beach house. So,
yeah. Because we used to have, I worked years for caterers before I became a private chef. And we used to have this saying, you can fix anything. Right?
Yes.
So tell me, how did you handle that?
I tried my very best. Thankfully, it wasn't too burnt. So, of course, I tried to
scrape it off.
Trying to scrape it as much as I could to save it. But I did save it. But of course, just to be nice, I had to, give them a little bit some sort of discount.
Do you think that they would have noticed?
Oh yeah, definitely, because the kitchen was.
Oh, were they nice about it?
Yes, they're very nice.
Super lucky. Nice. Yes. You're lucky because there's people I've worked for that just. I got to tell you a quick story. So I may have said this, told this story on another episode, but it's worth repeating. Mm-hmm. So I worked for a number of different caterers in Hollywood, and I had a full-time job, but this one job came up in the evening. And I decided to take it because I liked the caterer. Right. And when I showed up at the house, it was dinner for, I don't know, like 15 people. And it was just me and a party manager. And when I got there, the party manager said to me, here, this comes from the owner of the catering company, and she wants you to read this, right? So I opened it up, and it was very short and to the point. She said, be very conscious of your plate presentation. Look around, you'll understand why. And I go into the kitchen, and it was a true chef's kitchen. Right? Very, very wealthy couple. They had gold-rimmed china and everything. So it was a 4-course thing. So I'm putting, and we were using their china. I'm putting the dinner together. The party manager is serving, and when the party manager came back in with the plates, he would stack them next to the sink. And while I'm putting the next course together and he's taking them out, come back, was running out of room, and he starts putting them on their antique kitchen table, right? And I now have the 4th course out, so I'm going to take over washing dishes. So I start washing dishes, and he's out in the dining room, and all of a sudden, I hear this bang that was as loud as a gunshot. And I look over, and what was happening was he was stacking the dishes, the cleaned dishes, on this antique round table, and it was slowly wobbling. And it got to the point where it just tipped over. And I go over to them, and I'll go back to what we were saying before, you can fix anything, right? I'm looking at this shattered china, and I'm going, there's no way.
There's no way you can fix that.
And he comes in, and he's a little bit more upset than me, the party manager. And he's going, holy expletive, holy. For some reason, I start laughing. And he goes, what are you laughing? Shut up. What are you laughing about? And all I could think of was the Three Stooges, Mo, Larry, and Curly's catering company, right? And he's, shut up. So for some reason, the hosts did not hear that. So we swept it up real quick to sort of out of sight, out of mind. And I continued to wash dishes. And one of the hosts came into the kitchen and said that they had been drinking heavily. And I've got my back, and he's talking to the party manager, and he says, so how's everything going? And the party manager says, well, the good news is you've got a lot of leftovers. The bad news is you'll probably never have a dinner party with 15 people again. And I start laughing again, but we hightailed it out of here. So anyway, those things could happen. So yours was you burnt the Peking duck, and you're happy that they were nice people.
Yes.
What is the one food that you love that you'd be embarrassed for other people to find out? I'll tell you one of mine. I love frozen pizzas. I love frozen pizzas.
Not gonna lie, packaged ramen.
Yeah.
There's $30
I think what could you give me like a certain brand and flavor?
I don't know the name of brand, but they're pretty popular. It's all over Walmart and any store you could go to. And the flavor I usually get is beef or chicken. Yeah,
because there is this one that is so good. It's called Shin Black.
Shin Black. I think
It's a big package. It's red, and the powdered sauce that it makes. I swear, Michael, I've been thinking of like using that for something. So you like packaged ramen?
Yes.
Okay, so you graduated. You worked in restaurants. You started your own business, Michael's Kitchen, personal chef and catering. You worked for Ron Gronkowski. What's next for Michael Roemhildt?
It's really hard because I'm trying my very best to try to expand my business to different areas with the catering business that I have.
What do you mean different areas? Give me an example.
Like major cities in the U.S., like Miami.
You'd like to spread out like that. Would you move?
No, I wouldn't move, but I would definitely look for like, chefs around those areas and have them work for me.
Yeah. You mean work for you there?
Yeah, correct.
All right. So you would grow your business and they would fall under your title.
Correct.
Wow, that's pretty cool.
Yes.
Well, that's interesting. And Michael, I'm so glad you came in. That's Michael Roemhildt. He's of Michael's Kitchen, personal chef and catering. Check him out, folks. I haven't had his food, but I've got a pretty good radar, and I've looked at some of his dishes, and his website is just never ending. You couldn't miss with him. So, Michael, thanks so much for coming in to talking about food.
Well, thanks for having me.
And that's going to wrap up episode 33 for this week. Don't forget to check out Lakieta and Jamie Graves, both fantastic performers. So make sure you check them out. Not only are they great singers and musicians, but they are foodies. And they mentioned, too, it was Rio's that they love in Myrtle Beach. Haven't been there yet. I have been to Brazilian restaurants, and I absolutely love them. So I'm going to head there, that's for sure. And also Fiesta Mexicana in North Myrtle Beach. They love that one. We also talked with Michael Roemhildt of Michael's Kitchen, personal chef and catering right here in the Grand Strand. And this kid's on fire. He loves what he does. Extensive menu. If you can't find something on that menu, boy, I'd be very surprised. But check him out. Check out the restaurants that Lakieta and Jamie talked about. And hey, if you happen to stay home, I know you folks can handle it because you are your family's private chef. Thanks again for listening.